Now, let's go to our class. Okay. So here's our class. Let's get into what you guys all see. Okay. So I want to show you a few things. If you go to my grades, the grade book is all set up so that you can see everything that you have to complete from now until July 26th. Okay. You will notice that everything has been awarded 2 points. 2 points means that you completed the assignment on time, regardless of how many answers or questions you got right or wrong. You receive your full 2 points. If you complete the assignment 1 day late or 2 days late, or a week late, you get a 1, and that signifies that you completed the work, but it was late. A 0 means that you did not complete the assignment, and that is almost that you didn't complete the assignment. Okay, so the total possible points, and there are 23 assignments. The total possible points is 46. So I clicked on, sorry, let me go back. I clicked on view description. That's always where you can see where I wrote you a note. So since this whole tutorial class is to prepare you to take the Accuplacer Reading Comprehension Test, there's no grade, but you must complete 70 minutes, 70% of the work to be eligible to take the test at the end. So there are a total of 46 points. So you must accumulate 33 points to be eligible to take the reading comprehension test. So like I said before, 0 is not completed, 1 is completed late, 2 is completed on time. Okay. So you will be able to always see what your running tally points are here when you actually complete the assignments. I am permitting students to complete work up to 1 week late. Of course, there's a points penalty, but really the most important thing of this tutorial is that you are doing the lessons, that you're getting the strategies and the skill set to do well on the Accuplacer reading so that you can be in Composition 104 in the fall semester. Okay. So if you have questions about this, I want you to go to discussion board, create a forum, and ask a question. And I will jump onto Blackboard and answer it as soon as possible. Actually, probably within 3 or 4 hours at the longest. And the benefit of posting it here in the discussion board is that everyone in this tutorial gets to see the question and benefit from the answer, and it saves me time so that I don't have to answer the same question 4 or 5 times through email. Okay, so now let's go back to week by week. Hang on 1 second, everyone. Hang on 1 second. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so other things that I want to talk to you about. So I sent out alerts to students yesterday for students who are in danger of not being eligible to take their reading comprehension test. I sent you emails. I also alerted the dean of students to contact you to get you on the ball. This is for your benefit so that you don't have to spend extra money taking the classes in the fall semester. Okay, so I also wanted to show you something. So if we go into our class, right? Start here. Let's see. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Acuplacer reading exam at the end of the semester is Tuesday, July 31st from 3 to 5 p.m. in Deanan Hall, Computer Lab G08. If you anticipate this being a problem for you to take, you do need to contact me as soon as possible. Or if you're not in the New Jersey area, you do have to contact the dean to let her know. Or excuse me, you have to contact Tracy Soriano to let her know, and she'll make arrangements for you to take it remotely. Okay, so let's go back to here.
Hi, Professor Gali.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
Nice to finally hear you.
Thank you. Me too.
And hi, Gwen.
Hi, Professor Gali.
Nice to see you.
Me too.
So I was just kind of like talking to myself because no one had logged in.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Listen, I want to say something real quick before I answer any questions you may have. First of all, the two of you guys have been on top of your work. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's not so easy to do. It's summer, the weather's kind of nice, but I'm super psyched that you two are into this tutorial and that you're doing the work. And I know that we have a lot of deadlines, but I promise you, this is so worth it. This is so worth it.
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
So, because this is an online tutorial, I sort of set up this time just to answer questions or to review things that students want me to. So, I guess my question is, and what we can take turns, like, is there something that you want me to go over, Susanna? And then I'll ask Edwin the same question.
Right now, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
Let me see my Blackboard to. I think the context clues. Yeah, the context clues were a little difficult, a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can explain me more.
Sure. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure. I can never quite tell what's going on. Okay, so context clues was last week?
Yes, last week.
So something that sort of helped me, let me just go back for a second here. I find that sometimes when I'm going through students' works or reviewing as the teacher, I have to go back to this page to make sure I reread what the objectives are, right? And so the context clues is to help you focus on vocabulary. Okay, so here there are 4 types: examples, synonyms, antonyms, and general sense of the paragraph or passage. Okay. So let's see. Oh, what happened? Okay. So is there one of these 4 that you want me to start with?
I think the context.
Okay.
Yes.
So whenever we talk about context clues, right, we're always looking at the words within the sentence, like the other parts of the sentence, as well as perhaps information in the sentence before it and the sentence after it. And I know this is sort of like, it's a little bit hard because if we are reading a sentence and we don't know what a word means, it's hard to sort of guess what it means because in our minds we think we need to know the definition 100%.
Yes.
And let me tell you something that's pretty interesting. You only need to know 30%. You only need to have a 30% confidence of what the word probably means to understand the entire paragraph. Okay. So I remember the examples that we looked at. Let me just go back here. Okay. Let me just scroll to find a good example. Suppose. Sorry, let me go back. Okay, so if we look at this first example, right? So basically, we're saying there are different types of context clues. There are examples, and then there are times in a sentence that we see signal phrases that indicate it's similar to or opposite of something.
Okay.
And so in this first context clue, it's an example. And the example can help us get an idea of what they're trying to say. So today I had to deal with one mishap after another. Okay, so the word is mishap, right? Now in the second sentence, there should be like some clues to help us go back to understand what mishap means. So it says, I couldn't find my car keys. I dropped the bowl of soup at lunchtime and my computer crashed twice. Okay. So those three are examples. But notice how, and I think you'll notice this in any higher level writing, they don't always say, for example. They just give you the
Yes.
examples. And so now these three examples, are they a good or bad thing?
Bad.
They're all bad, yeah. So if we now take that information, we know it's bad things, and we look at A, unlikely accident,
Yeah.
right? So that's a possibility.
Yes.
But I always say go through all of them. So A is a possibility, B, an event. Well, it doesn't tell us if it's a good or bad event. So I kind of put that aside.
Mm-hmm.
And then C, unexpected question. It doesn't really show us good or bad.
Yeah.
And you choose A because it's the closest answer.
Yeah.
That sort of makes sense. So do you, I'm going to just go through all the context clues, but what did you think about these types of questions? Were they fairly easy to identify?
Yeah, they were easy, yes.
Okay, because I'm just looking at the examples here and I see, like, for example, this signal phrase, for instance, right? That's like saying, for example,
Yeah.
or such as, right? Or such. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Let's see. So synonym is when it's like the same, right?
Yes. The same meaning.
Let's see. For example, if we go to this one, number 14, I asked the instructor to explain a confusing passage in a textbook. She said, I wish I could, but it's obscure to me too. What are some of the key words in this sentence?
Confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Confusing. And then here where it says it's obscure to me too. Right? This
Mm-hmm.
part. So we understand that they're similar.
Yes.
Right. This one was probably, well, let me ask you, how did you feel about this section?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with the synonyms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me see the next one. Antonym. Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, because this one, I feel like examples, synonyms, and antonyms, you're looking for keywords to sort of
Yes.
help you, right? Okay,
Yes.
so then the last one, and I'll readily admit this is the harder one, right? Because general sense of the paragraph or passage, there's no concrete way to figure it out, right? It's sort of like when you just have to figure out all the clues
Yeah.
yourself. Um, so these examples, I think you think about the other three, like the context clues, the signal phrases, and you try your best to apply it here. And it's kind of fluid, meaning there's no concrete way to look at this. But I'm having a hard time explaining this. It's what you already know and trust yourself that you can apply that thinking pattern to this type of question. Let's see. Okay, so like number 34. The public knows very little about the covert activities of CIA spies. Okay. So let me just ask you, Susanna, when reading this sentence, what are some clue words for you?
I think knows very little
Uh-huh. Yep.
because it means like it's secret or it's not clear.
Yep. So that's one clue. Here's another clue. CIA spy. Guys, I'm sorry, my daughter's talking.
Don't worry.
Okay. Now let me do my work, okay? So that one, the one that you pointed out, Susanna, is excellent, right? And I think in these other examples, we sometimes have to bring our own knowledge to the question. So for example, CIA spies. You might know what CIA is. You
Yes.
might think FBI or CIA, but you might most likely know what the word spy means. And what's a spy?
I know what it is, but I don't know how to explain it.
Edwin, do you know what a spy is?
Mm, I'm like Susana. I don't know what the definition exactly is. I know what it means.
Yeah. So a spy is someone who um, maybe who's trying to get information about our government or is trying to sell information about our government.
Good
Mm-hmm.
information.
And to do that, they have to do it in secret.
So, yeah.
Like, you guys remember, do you guys know who James Bond is?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Like, James Bond was a spy, right? Like, people knew him, but he also did things in secret to try to catch the bad guys.
Undercover.
Yeah. And so see how in us, the three of us talking through this sentence, we look for um, opportunities to use strategies that we learned with the other three context clues, but then we also bring our own knowledge to this. So with that thinking, is it A, B, C, or D?
C.
It's C. Yes, it's secret. Covert means secret. Um, honestly, I feel like for these types of questions, I think the more practice that you get,
Yeah.
the more exposure you have to vocabulary words, it's just going to strengthen your reading. Something that I'm not crazy about, that I don't love, is that it gives you these one or two sentences, and it tells you to figure out what the vocabulary word means. But I think in a AccuPlacer test, you're going to have more of a context. You're going to have like a paragraph, and then it's going to answer you what the word means. So I hope that sort of like eases your concern a little bit.
Yeah.
Something else that I want to say to you guys is, these practice tests. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to my screen. So we have 4 practice tests that's on our Blackboard. But you guys can also just Google AccuPlacer Reading Comprehension Test, and you can find other real life tests for you to practice too. So what else? What else can I help you clarify?
I have a hard time with context clues and the last part of
I don't know what
context
happened.
clue. I have a hard time.
I'm sorry, Edwin. I don't understand.
I didn't understand the last part of context clue.
About the paragraphs?
No, about the antonym.
About the antonym.
Yes.
Okay. So hang on one second, guys. Hang on one second, okay?
Yo no voy a poner cámara, así que olvídalo.
Sorry, guys. Okay. So I think the key here is for identifying antonyms as well as synonyms, right? You have to start thinking about key phrases or signal phrases that show you the opposite of what the word will mean. Okay, so let me back up a second. So in the AccuPlacer test, it's going to have probably 2 sentences. Okay, and in our practice tests, I put the word, or the vocabulary word, in all caps. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But in the actual AccuPlacer, it's going to be underlined. So that's one thing that I want you to know. And I think you should write some of these notes that I tell you. Okay, so vocabulary words will be underlined, not in bold. Okay. And I'm sorry, I couldn't do that with the way Google is set up. It just wouldn't allow me to underline. That's why I did it in all caps. So Google isn't perfect, but it's pretty close. Okay. So you see the sentence, and I'll have the vocabulary word that's going to ask you what it means. The next sentence, you're going to look for a signal phrase to help you determine if it's showing you the opposite or the the synonym, the similar, a similar word. And so example phrases for opposite are, and let's do a list together, right? So opposite, it might be something like in contrast, in opposition, or opposite. Can you think of any signal phrases that might indicate the opposite of something that's going to be shown?
No.
Let's see.
Got it.
Let's go to my. Okay, so I just did a quick Google search, right? So here are some signal words that show expansion or continuation of an idea, right? Like and, okay? Now let's jump to number 2, change of direction signals. So it shows the opposite or the contrast of the previous sentence. So these are words that we've seen everywhere, like although, despite, however, the opposite, rather, while. And so, for example, if you saw in writing, or if we were just having a conversation together, and I could say to you guys, oh, I'm having such a great day. I woke up early. My daughter slept in. I had the morning all to myself to get work done. However, now that I'm on the computer, my daughter wants to like talk really loud. She wants to see you guys on the computer. She wants to like see what we're doing on Google. So now do you see that change in direction of what I was telling you guys?
Yes.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay. So here's another example that I can give you. Okay. So our online tutorial for this course, here's my example. Our online tutorial for reading college readiness reading is a lot of work. There are a lot of deadlines every week. Nevertheless, students who get their work done will be in a better place to pass the AccuPlacer exam. Okay. So the first part of my example was about how there's so much work to do, right? And now using this term, nevertheless, I'm sort of changing the direction and saying, yes, there's a lot of example and a lot of work to do, and it feels awful and overwhelming. But nevertheless, it's going to help you pass your exam. So Edwin, I think something that's important to be able to do is to look at the 1 or 2 sentences that are given to you and see if there are any signal words or phrases that you can tap into, so they are clues for the word's meaning.
Okay.
So let me take this for a second. And I'm going to just send that link to you guys. Okay. Now let's go back here for a second. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's just do a couple of examples together, okay? So in this example, number 2, before the invention of television, people spent more time on diversions, such as going to town concerts and ball games, visiting neighborhood friends, and playing board games. What's the signal word or words? So just like I'm sorry, say it again?
Such as?
Yeah, such as. That's exactly it. And so if we use such as, and we know what's following it are examples, right, that illustrate the previous thought. Okay. And I know these are synonyms, but we'll get to the antonyms in a moment. What about this third one? What's the signal phrase?
For instance.
Good. For instance. What about this one? Is there a signal phrase here?
Such again? And.
It's such. Changes in such abilities are learning, reasoning, thinking, and language.
Okay.
Edwin, I kind of like messed you up here. This word is not supposed to be here. It should be changes such as abilities. I have to take this word off. I'm so sorry. Let's see. In this one, it's pretty straightforward. It's for example. This one is for instance. For example again. What about this one? Does this one have one?
Much. Much more or than?
Actually, this one does not have a signal phrase.
Wow.
And
Why?
so if this doesn't have a signal phrase, right, how can we sort of think through this sentence to find the meaning of the word adapt? Here's a trick for you guys. I have a trick for you. Okay. So if we read the first part of this sentence, children who move to foreign countries, to move to a foreign country, adapt much more easily than their parents. Okay. If there's no signal phrase right after it, like here, but we see a comma, then we know what's coming after it is continuing the thought. So let me just repeat that. So if after this comma there is no signal word or phrase, then we can assume what follows after this comma is continuing the same thought. And so if it's continuing, it could be an example, it could be further explanation.
Okay. No, I get it now.
Let's look at your antonyms. Okay. Oh, was that synonyms? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at this one right here. Okay. Although investments in the stock market can be lucrative, they can also result in great financial loss. Susanna, What's the signal word or phrase here?
Although.
Or Edwin?
Although.
Yeah, although. And does although show us, does it usually mean the same or opposite?
Opposite.
That's the same.
No, it actually usually shows us opposite or something that's different. Now think about this for a second, Edwin. I'm having a good day, although I have a headache.
Oh no.
Although the sun is out, I don't want to go outside because it looks hot. So it's showing something that's a little bit opposite. Okay. So although investments in the stock market can be lucrative, they can also result in great financial loss. So if we see that although starts this part of the sentence, we know it's going to be lucrative, it's going to be opposite of something that we see here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if what we see here is that there's going to be like a big loss of money, then the opposite of it is what?
Let's see.
It's to make money. So, I mean, that's the kind of thinking that I want you to apply. Now, here's the thing, guys. Like, you're learning all these strategies, and your job is to learn them and then to start applying them, okay? It's not like in a regular school class, like in math class, you learn something and then you find the answer and it's right or wrong, right? With reading strategies, learn them and you build your momentum, you build your strength in your reading. And so every week you learn strategies and you go take the test and you might still not do perfectly. But your job is to go back, review the lessons, and to continue to add them for future assignments. Something that I really stress is, the end goal of this tutorial is that you guys pass the reading, the AccuPlacer, right? And I'm sure you've heard this before. These types of tests, these standardized tests, it's a way of thinking. And so, you know how I'm sure you have friends that didn't seem like they were paying attention, or they weren't very smart in class, but then they would take the test and they would do very well. Those people, they know how to think the way that the test wants them to think. Does that sort of make sense at all?
Kind of.
Like, this test is a standardized test. Okay. Standardized tests measure your ability to think a certain way. And so if you learn these strategies of identifying, for example, of identifying signal phrases, that's going to teach you how to look at what's in front of you to show that way of thinking on the test.
Okay.
I mean, I think you just have to practice and practice and practice.
Okay.
Now, do you have questions about the upcoming week or this week's work?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let's take a look. So this upcoming week, sorry, let me go back for a second. I missed. So you're going to differentiate ideas and implied ideas. So you're going to be able to identify main ideas from minor details or supporting details. And then you're going to be able to figure out what some of the implied ideas are based on what they are saying, what the writer is saying. So there's quite a few stuff, right? So if we just look at our calendar, we see that there's the pre-unit test, there's a lesson and application on identifying main ideas, lesson and application on supporting ideas, lesson and application on implied main ideas, post-test, and then the reflection. Something that I think is probably a good practice, not just for this tutorial, but for any college class that you take, right, is that you go through the lesson. And so we opened it. You're going to go to learn. I know mine looks a little bit different than yours because mine's a teacher account, but it's, for the most part, it looks like this, right? You read through it and you try to piece together or understand what the lesson is. Now, this is the part that students don't do enough of. So if this is about main ideas, I would just do this. I'd go to Google. And I'd look up, how do I identify main ideas in a text? Right? And I would probably read a couple of links and take that and bring it back to what I learned in the tutorial and synthesize it together, pull it together so that I have a better understanding of how to do it. Now, I think sometimes students don't do this because, well, number one, it's extra work, right? And number two is, oh, well, maybe this is teaching it in a different way than my professor. And here's my thinking for our class. My thinking for our class is our goal is to pass the Accuplacer reading at the end of the tutorial. Do whatever you have to do to get the knowledge and to understand the strategy to pass. Remember, I don't, the way that I've set up the grading in this tutorial is that you're getting credit for doing the work. Doesn't matter if it was right or wrong. I think this is a process that takes a little bit of time, that you need to practice, 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 and trust that this system of doing it is going to help you. It's going to help you in the end. So do you have questions about last week's lesson, this week's lesson, about grades, about the test, about actually anything?
No, I don't really have any questions right now.
Okay. Susanna, you still there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm here.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you have questions, don't wait until our weekly meetup like this. Just go to discussion boards in Blackboard and post the question. This is the only class I'm teaching all summer. And so I get alerts on my phone. I will hop on it and take care of it as soon as possible. I mean, how are you guys feeling? How are you feeling about the tutorial? Are you learning things? Like,
yes, I'm learning a lot.
okay.
Practicing, trying my best.
I can't really hear you, Susanna.
Really? No?
No, yeah, I can.
Oh my god.
So I have a question. Are you guys incoming freshmen for the fall semester?
Yes, freshman.
Okay.
Yes, right.
All of this is new.
So guys, let me tell you something. I've taught the essential writing class, and I think it's different than essential reading, but it's the counterpart to it. Guys, it's an awful class. I hate teaching it, and one of the reasons why I really want you guys to do well in this tutorial and to pass the AccuPlacer here is number one, money, right? Like you have to pay tuition to take another class. But number two, like I hated teaching that class because of the students that were in it. Like they just kind of didn't take the work seriously. And just, they just thought, oh, it's another class I have to take, whatever.
They just try to pass but not to learn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so are you guys paying for this or is this a free tutorial?
Free tutorial.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's even better.
Yeah.
So look, right? Like right now we're on this YouTube live. You two are the only students that logged in.
Oh my god.
There's one other student who does the work, but it's like usually like late. And I have another student who's kind of doing the work. Nobody else is doing work. Okay. That's their loss, right? But this is what you and Edwin, Susanna, you and Edwin have to gain from this. You basically have got a free professor to answer any question that you have. Now, I know this is sort of selfish, and but if students don't do the work, I can't help them, right? In some ways, that's great for you guys because that means more of my time is freed up to really work with the students who want the help. And so I'm saying that because you two have been great with doing work on time. I know everyone has a busy schedule, right? But if you really sit down and think about what your questions are, right, before we meet up on this YouTube live, then I can really, really help you. Okay? And something that I tell students is, when you write down your questions, be really precise so that we can jump right in to help figure out what the problem is that I can help clarify for you. I think that you guys should make sure you understand the purpose of signal phrases and some examples, and maybe even memorize some of them. My daughter wants to say hi.
Hi.
Okay, now go watch TV. Okay. See, now she's fine. She just said hi. She's fine. So, signal phrases. Whenever you have time, go back, do the practices. I don't care how many times you do it. You can do it like 10 times if you want to. If you're like, you know what, I need additional practice, then just go to Google and look for AccuPlacer reading comprehension questions. Okay. And if you can't find any, post something on discussion board and I will post resources for you guys.
Actually, I have the link. I'm going to post it.
I'm sorry, can you just say a little louder?
Oh, that I have the link so I can post it on.
Oh, good.
So.
Yeah. And you guys have to trust that for these standardized tests, the more you practice and the more you understand why the question was answered incorrectly, if you got it wrong, it's going to help you. It does all of a sudden come together. It really does. And this is the one time I'll say, trust my magic, right? Trust and expertise that it will come together for you. Okay. What other questions do you have?
I think I'm okay at this time.
Okay.
But
And
I'm
Edwin, how about you?
to
Right now, I
prepare
don't
my
have anything.
questions for the
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay. So, so continue to do your work. Okay. I actually go in and check your work every couple of days or so. But if you are like, you need to know something right now, it's okay to post on discussion board and to say, I really need your help on this one question, and direct me to that question so I can help you. Okay. I mean, think about it. We're like in our second week. We only have 2 more weeks to go.
It's getting closer.
Yeah. I think that's all I have for you guys for today. It was really nice seeing you guys, like seeing your picture, Edwin, and seeing you, Suzanne. Like, I think the more that we connect, you know, it just helps the relationship of me, like helping you guys. Okay. So next week, I believe our meeting is on Thursday instead of Wednesday, because I don't know if you want to know this, but I'm going to Hawaii for vacation. So
Nice.
I'll be on the beach with my laptop. But then the last week, it's back to Wednesday.
Okay.
I hope you can make it. If you can't, just watch the tutorial, and just like continue to be in communications with me. Okay? Okay, guys. It was nice seeing you. Have a
Thank you
good
so
week,
much
okay?
for your help. Really.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.